between Stella Matutina Girls High School and Xiyuan Senior High School. The proposition for today's debate is that the Taiwan government should abolish the death penalty.
The debaters, rules for timing your speech are as follows. When there are 30 seconds left, you'll hear one short ring. When time is up, you'll hear two short rings. When it's 30 seconds into the extension, you'll hear a long ring. And upon hearing that, you have to stop your speech.
And the rules for timing your cross-examination are, when there are 30 seconds left, you'll hear a short ring. When time is up, you'll hear two short rings. And upon hearing that, you have to stop the cross-examination.
Each team needs to prepare evidence card for cross-examination. Any evidence cited during the debate should have a corresponding evidence card which may be reviewed upon request by the cross-examiner and the teammates. The cards need to be returned at the end of the constructed speech following to the cross-examination.
For the audience, please turn off your cell phone or turn it to the vibrate mode. When the debate is still in progress, please do not chat or use flash when taking pictures. Thank you. First, affirmative constructive speech. 4 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this debate. Here, in the first place, we indicate our position that Taiwan government should abolish the death penalty. In this debate, we hold the value to be true and shall be highlighted that life of each human being is important, no matter for loss of the convicts in the death row or loss of the victims and their family. But before we come to our actual argumentation, let us first define the important terms in this debate. In this debate, death penalty indicates execution of an offender sentenced to death after conviction by a court of law of a criminal offense. We, as today's proposition, have structured our case as follows. I, as the first speaker, will be talking about our contentions for today's motion. Our second speaker will elaborate on specific plan of abolishing death penalty, and our third speaker will hold this debate. We contend that the government in Taiwan should abolish the death penalty due to the following reasons. First, we should protect the right of life. People have no right to deprive others of life. It's really irrational that people can authorize the government to do this. Think of the following situation. Can the country legally allow any person to put another person to death? Second, death penalty is not the most effective way to punish the criminals. For convicts, the privation of their freedom is more excruciating. There is a case that happened in Italy in 2007. While the Italian government is promoting that we should abolish the death penalty comprehensively, 310 prisoners that were sentenced to life without parole requested that the prison that they don't want to live in a life that is waiting for death, and requested that modify the life sentence to death penalty. Here, we can see clearly that life sentence gives more torment to the prisoners than death penalty. Third, death penalty doesn't mend the mental scars. What the victim's family need are constant support and mental therapy. Unfortunately, our government has wrongly created a misconception that death penalty consoles the victim's family and that they don't have to think about how to improve the system of the victim's support and therapy. According to the Murder Victims Family for Human Rights, the Chief Executive Officer, Randy Cushing, who was also the victim's family, said, whether the victim's family or the offender's family, they are both the victims, and those whom should be protected. However, death penalty will only create more victims. Fourth, death penalty actually brings more disadvantages. Firstly, death penalty doesn't have a deterrent factor and doesn't decrease crime. There is no credible evidence indicating that death penalty deters crime more effectively than life in prison. States that have death penalty laws do not have lower crime rates or murder rates than states without such laws. Take Bhutan, for example. The crime rates have decreased after Bhutan abolished death penalty since 2004 to 2010. The crime rate of murder has decreased from 2.4 to 1.7 per 100,000 of people. The second point is that death penalty costs much more. The truth is that the death penalty costs far more than life in prison. Bring a convict to the death row, a prisoner costs 3 times as much as putting him in prison. The costs primarily derive from the higher costs of capital punishment litigation, and the trial processes of death penalty are usually more complicated. A a 2003 legislative audit in Kansas found that the estimated cost of a death penalty case was 70% more than the cost of a comparable non-death penalty case. Because of these reasons I've mentioned above, we firmly believe that abolishing death penalty will do more benefit to our society, even to our country. We will illustrate our plan in a second affirmative constructive speech. And now, I'm ready for the cross-examination.
Second negative, cross-examine. First affirmative. 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. Do you know the case of Bai Xiaoyan?
Yes.
Do you know that there are numerous victims' families that see executing the murderer the only way to ease their pain?
There's the case, only case. There's still a lot of cases that.
Okay, thank you. So are you aware of the fact that abolishing the death penalty is actually depriving the last bit of hope of those people, of those families?
No, I don't think so. Because
Okay, thank
there's
you.
still.
You mentioned about the crime rate thing in your speech, right?
Yes.
Okay, so do you agree that crime rate is actually affected by numerous factors such as economy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So do you agree that the crime rate also counts in some minor crimes such as stealing?
No. And there's some.
Okay, thank you. So could you elaborate on your definition of crime rate?
We will elaborate on our.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned that capital punishment is a more severe punishment to those crimes, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And also, you have mentioned about the cost of the death penalty, okay? Right?
Yes.
Do you agree that most of the cost is spent on the appealing process? Okay. Thank you. Also, you have, okay. Do you agree that human has dignity?
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay. So do you agree that to enhance dignity of all human beings, people should be responsible of what they have to do?
Yes, I agree with that. And
Also, do you agree that? Okay, thank you.
First negative, constructive speech. 4 minutes.
Honorable judges and fellow debaters, we the negative firmly believe that the status quo is acceptable. We question the need of abolishing the death penalty and believe that it will even bring disadvantages. The negatives believe that justice is the base of the formation of the society. Thus, our main pursuit is the stability and justice of Taiwan. We would here like to first take Kant's moral philosophy as a model that explains how the death penalty stabilizes the just of our society. What Kant endorses and suggests is a modern retributivist panel theory focused on civic respect for persons as citizens, with implications not only for institutions, laws, and policies, but for citizen attitudes and commitments. Kant believes that human beings are rational, and that humans possess intrinsic value, which can also be regarded as dignity. They are rational agents and have the capacity to determine their behaviors, which means that the attitude they conduct is what is believed to be proper. Hence, they should be responsible for the acts, and treating themselves as ends in themselves means to respect their own dignity, also including not harming others. For the definition of the justification of punishment, Kant stated that to fulfill justice and to protect the dignity of criminals, punishments should be proportional in severity to the crime. On the basis of this, we can infer that to enhance the supreme value of life, no punishments are proportional to murder, except death penalty, since there are no other stuff that is equivalent to life. What's more, Kant regarded punishment as justice, and punishment towards the criminal is a way denoting that we respect the criminal as a human and his or her dignity. We see the criminals as rational and responsible people, therefore demand them to be responsible of what has been done by them, which is confirming their capacity. As a result, Kant's moral philosophy resolves that death penalty is retribution, not to be confused with revenge, which is guided by a different motive. Now, I would here briefly explain the current situation in Taiwan. The negative would like to emphasize that in the current system, there are no sole punishment of death penalty to criminals. The status quo offers the judges two choices for all significant criminal cases. One is death penalty, and the other is life sentence. However, the percentage of receiving parole provisional release in Taiwan is high, and thus life sentence may be considered to be too light, while death penalty is sometimes too strict for some cases. In brief, one of the biggest problems under the current jural system is the difficulty for the judges to accept proper punishment instead of the death penalty itself. Researches made by the professor of management science at Pepperdine University show that each execution carried out is correlated with about 74 fewer murders the following year. The study examined the relationship between the number of executions and the number of murders in the U.S. for the 26-year period from 1979 to 2004, using data from publicly available FBI sources. A modern three studies made by the Nobel Prize winner in the fields of economics sciences have consistently shown that capital punishment has a strong deterrent effect, with each execution deterring 8 murders. The affirmative mentioned that death penalty has no deterrence towards criminals. We argue here that whether there is deterrence cannot be told by the crime rate with the following 2 reasons. First, there are numerous factors affecting the crime rate. For example, economic boom, dissemination of monitors, and so on. It is impossible to identify the factors affecting the crime rate. Thus, whether there is deterrence is unrecognizable from the charts. Second, for legislative and administrative adjustments, there must be a period of time when capital punishment is seen as a backup policy and not being used before a country abolishes the death penalty. In that case, the crime rate will not differ from that before abolishing the death penalty. Thus, it would not be appropriate to say that death penalty has no deterrence. By back penalty, we can also solve the problem of recidivism directly. According to Taiwan's Ministry of Justice, the percentage of those who reoffend after leaving the prison between 1992 to 1999 is 32.3%, and prisoners who receive parole provisional release then reoffend takes up to 36%. In conclusion, the negatives believe that we should not abolish death penalty but reform the current system. Thank you.
First affirmative, cross-examine, first negative. 2 minutes.
Legally, do lawmakers have the right to abolish death penalty with perfect and equal support if necessary?
Can you please rephrase your question?
Legally, do lawmakers have the right to abolish death penalty with perfect and equal support if necessary? Or why not?
I'm sorry, can you be more concise?
And death penalty gives comfort to the victims generally, only in the beginning. That what they actually need are the counseling afterward. Do you agree?
Yes.
And the death penalty is the only compensate system where the victims can bring about the revenge plan afterward.
But there are still victims' families believe that death penalty is the only way that can recoup their pain.
Do you have any evidence to show that?
For example, the Baishaoyan case.
But there is only a case.
No, it is only
Okay,
one specific one.
You've mentioned that such as the economic law is the factor that decides the crime rate, but can you say that what degree does the death penalty affect the crime rate?
No, I didn't mean that it is the only thing that will affect the crime rate.
Sorry, my question is, to what degree will the death penalty affect the crime rate? I'm not meaning the death penalty is the only one.
Well, as I have mentioned in my speech, every one execution will deter 8.
Okay, thank you. So, do we have ever right to put death penalty in the law?
Yes.
You see that the death penalty can be a means of bank punishment.
Second affirmative, constructive speech. 4 minutes.
Before responding to the negatives contentions, I would like to detail our plan. The design of the plan is based on the model of China, where death sentence requirement exists, in Germany, where a system of mental treatment is applied to the convicts. While abolishing the death penalty is important, it shouldn't be done hastily but step by step. With adaptation, the society will be better and justice will be rightly given. First, death sentence required a specific law in China. A death row inmate will be given a 2-year suspended sentence of the execution, adding on parole for the perpetrators that can only be carried out after 18 years in prison. and through the assessments by the mental experts. By introducing this adapted law to the criminal law system in Taiwan during the process of abolishing the death penalty, the convicts will have a period of 2 more years to search for further evidence, which will reduce the chance of making the whole process be rushed. The restricted parole will be a social safeguard. With private death sentence as a way of prevention, this concern can be reduced. In other words, less mistakes such as misjudging in capital cases. After all, you can never be too cautious. Second, mental treatment, therapy and enlightenment will be applied. The mental care treatment system in Germany is one of the main reasons why the crime rate maintains pretty low. A research from Federal Criminal Police Office showed that from 2000 to 2012, the crime rate of murder has decreased from 1.25 to 0.7 per 100,000 people. According to a well-known example in 2001, known as the Army Mills case, Germany government regards criminals as patients. There are specialists such as psychologists and psychiatrists in the prisons who provide mental support of the inmates. With the help and enlightenment of mental experts, perpetrators of heinous crimes may be given the right attitude and respect toward lives, and those with mental problems can be cured through treatment like hypnotherapy. In 2009, the case of Wang Shanshan is a good example. Having the system adapted to Taiwan's prisons, prisoners may receive the right therapy and have fewer problems when rehabilitating. Although Taiwan already has the association of aftercare, but from the 30% or so recidivism rate of the rehabilitated, we can tell that rehabilitation is still a weak spot in our society system. By having this specific mental care therapy system, not only will the troubles such as how the rehabilitated go back to the society will be reduced, but their human rights will also be protected. Third, public education. The society's point of view toward the rehabilitated. Today, the society regards a rehabilitated as someone who convicted crime rather than someone who served their sentence and is in need of help to get back on track. The primary reason comes from the basic, fundamental educations. The current school education lacks the knowledge about the rehabilitated, especially at a younger age when fundamental characters are being formed. If educations about how to treat a rehabilitated rightfully are taught as part of the school lessons, it becomes a common sense. The discrimination toward the rehabilitated could be solved from the root, or at least be reduced to a great extent. Fourth, the compensation for the victims and their families. The current compensation in Taiwan is barely sufficient. Financial support is not enough and not the only thing those in need needs, and it's even seen as a cheap way of demonstrating justice. However, it's not something that can be left out. With the original system plus the counseling with the victims' families, the improvements of the mentality for the victims' families after losing their loved ones will be dealt with more cautiously. The counseling system can support the mental part and assist the victims' families in walking out of the misery. With both financial and mental assistance, the victims' families will have multiple ways to handle the tragedy, help comforting their loss. In conclusion, the affirmative plan has shown a possible solution to the current problems in the system by including death sentence where required, mental therapy in prisons, improving public education in rehabilitation, and increase mental compensation for the victims' families. The new systems will help improve the weak points of the current. So, we firmly support abolishing the death penalty. I'm now ready for cross-examination.
First negative, cross-examine, second affirmative. 2 minutes.
So is your system life imprisonment by way of parole? Or is
Yes.
do you agree that a criminal should be punished?
Yes, they should.
So do you think that both life imprisonment and death penalty is a kind of punishment to criminals?
Can you redefine the question?
Do you think both life imprisonment and death penalty is a kind of punishment to criminals?
Yes, it is, but there are other ways too.
So then how can you prove that one sees life or freedom were important?
Excuse me.
How can you prove that one sees life or freedom were important?
Well, like in plan,
Because maybe some of the people may commit crimes in order to make themselves look joke. So they will have to be worried about their living.
Okay.
Are you aware of this?
Yes, we will.
Okay, so then are aware of the negative influences it will bring to this society if we spend too much cost.
Yes.
Okay, then how are you going to deal with this?
Well, we can use backup money from mental health insurance.
Are aware that actually Taiwan actually now don't have a lot of money.
Yes, but the background money of medical and health insurance has a lot in say.
You mentioned that education will change the criminals thinking.
No. No, I didn't.
So you mean that you want to get
Central negative controversy, 1 minute.
Honorable judges and guests, there will be the negative position that with minor adjustment, the problems argued by the affirmative will be eliminated, and that the affirmative plan, instead of eliminating these harms, will even cause more serious problems. We would like to begin by questioning the significance and topicality of the contentions claimed by the affirmative. First, the affirmative mentioned that the cost of the death penalty is higher than life imprisonment. The negative would like to clarify that according to Amnesty International, 61% of the cost is spent on the investigation and appealing procedure. So, if multiple layers of appeal in Taiwan are pursued in a more in an ethical and fiscally responsible manner, execution is less costly than warehousing a murder for life. Second, the affirmative also mentioned that life imprisonment has more deterrence. However, we question the approach of the affirmative to appraise the value of freedom and life. Liberty and life are both one of the basic human rights. The value of each human right varies from people to people. Take the famous quote of an American politician: "Give me liberty or give me death." To some people, depriving freedom is actually depriving their life in an alternative way. Also, the affirmative mentioned that providing chances of redemption for murderers. However, we have to restate that there is no sole punishment of death penalty to criminals. Also, according to Article 57 of the Criminal Code of ROC, sentencing should be based on the liability of the offender and take into account of all circumstances. So special attention shall be given to the items such as the motivation and purpose of the offense. Thus, the judges could determine whether to sentence capital punishment or life imprisonment in accordance of their possibility of redemption, and only criminals that has no expressions of redemption will be executed. Third, the affirmative countered that the death penalty does not console grieving families. However, we argue that whether families of